All right. And we are live again. And this time we got Mr. Roman here, another podcaster and all these things. So please, Roman, thanks you for coming here and introduce yourself to all the nice people.
Cool. Thank you, Ilka, so much for inviting me here. I am super excited,
Mm.
and this is my first ever podcast as a guest. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a podcast host, as you heard, Get Cracking podcast live
Mm-hmm.
since the summer, six episode, and we are continuing. There is more coming up. Really cool concept about how to be better in life,
Mm-hmm.
how to find happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Apart from that, I am an entrepreneur, recently co-founder of strategic marketing company,
Mm-hmm.
and then there are some other projects in the pipeline. And then before that, I used to lead the teams, build the teams, so hired people, took care of people, been a team leader in different setups, and a project manager. So worked a lot with different size of projects.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and also big fan of sports and gym. Did martial arts in the childhood, but then now mostly it's
Yeah.
more gym type of things.
Yeah. Nice. And was it karate, I think?
Yes, I did karate, semi-professional, dark brown belt,
Yeah.
and then I'm still salty that I didn't get the black one, but
it's maybe it's coming. I don't know. You still have time. You still
yeah,
have time. You're young and you'll have your health and everything. So yeah, it shouldn't be bad. But also just pull a little bit that sucker closer, so it's way better. But yeah, all right. But yeah, as you said, I mentioned the podcast, and I actually listened to that today, and it's a nice quality and everything, and
thank you so
you
much.
have your own way of doing it, and like you already kind of mentioned the reasons why you want to do it, but like I think we talked a little bit about this earlier when I saw you, but like kind of like go a little bit back to the origins of like why you do it and why do you think it's like or why do you keep doing it, because I have heard like seen some podcasts come and go. So what is your main reasons and yeah, reasons and want to do it actually.
Yeah, great question. And also, I've recently seen some stats, and if I'm not wrong, there's like 90 something percent of podcast doesn't continue after episode 3.
Yeah.
And then if you add more, mostly people do, like if you continue after 3 you do 6, and then
Mm.
after that you don't continue. So I think now I've passed already both of those.
Nice.
And then I have really big desire to keep on going. So why did I start that? For me it is a is a creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not that creative person. So I'm
Mm.
more, let's say, straightforward, and I like maybe numbers more than art. But
Mm.
then podcast is the way to maybe express myself,
Mm.
and I take it as this is my creative moment, and then I can also have an opportunity to sit down and speak with people
Mm.
than otherwise I might have not sit down and speak on certain topics that I really like.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, it is also the way maybe to give something to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to do many things, and I'm trying to advance in life, and I'm trying to
Mm.
be better for myself and for people around me.
Mm.
And then creating the podcast and ultimately maybe sharing certain knowledge from people who've done or achieved something in life, not necessarily for myself. So
Mm.
we hopefully also can help other people to, get a bit closer to their goals, their
Mm-mm.
ambitions, or their happiness moments. And
Yeah.
because happiness is another huge topic that nobody really knows what it is. And I don't know, don't ask me.
Yeah, yeah. But nice. I can actually kind of see and feel that you are genuinely excited about it. And that's, I think, a good sign. And I think that also makes a good show in general. Like, if you don't give a fuck about what you're talking
Yeah,
about, it's like, like, why do you even do it?
yeah,
And that's like, I think we discussed earlier than a few weeks ago, or what was it? But like I think that's the reason why those podcasts come and go, because like they just do it for other people and then they don't even enjoy it that much. It's like, what do you want to hear? What do you want to do? La, 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 la. But
true.
it has to become or start from you, I think. And it seems like it comes from yourself. But what would you say then is like the, well, of course, I can kind of like see my own reasons for why I do this and why I do some other stuff that I do for a living, like helping others and stuff. So, why do you feel it's important to you, and like where does that originate from?
You mean so to help people or like to
Yeah,
try
like
to?
yeah, where does the want to do
Yeah.
that comes from for you?
Mm, this is a hard one. Frankly, I think if now I kind of reflect back, I
Mm.
think it's also maybe a bit selfish
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I've noticed that if I help someone and if I see somebody like
Mm-hmm.
succeeded with me kind of inputting in this success,
Mm.
I feel great.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel better.
Mm.
So I think my ambition of help people around me
Mm.
also ultimately comes from me being better to myself. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
kind of drives me, makes me happier, makes just life better. That's what I've noticed.
Mm.
And then also apart from that, everybody says that it is important, and I kind of relate to that. So yeah, let's do it more.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say like it came to mind like one example for maybe a lot of people like around Christmas. You kind of like, yeah, it's nice to maybe receive presents, especially when you're really young. But like after some point, it's almost like nicer to give
Yeah.
presents to other people, and that
Yes.
gives you some joy. So, and I think it's great, like if you can help any other people in any other like any way and see them succeed or do well or whatever. And I think that's a really beautiful and nice thing in a way. So yeah, I
And
think it's nice.
it's super interesting also because that frequently the help can be so easy for
Mm-mm.
some of us.
Yeah.
So let's say, when I have like older, I become more mature, become I have a tendency to,
Mm.
reflect more of what happened. And
Mm-hmm.
then more and more I've kind of, reflect on a certain situations. And then I understand that somebody might have given me an advice. And
Mm-hmm.
advices, they don't cost anything. And then I can give advices to left and right.
Yes.
And then, some of those advices, they will hit the point,
Mm.
and then they can really change something. And then the same is not only about the advice but the discussion. So now like me and you, we sit down, we have a certain conversation,
Mm.
and we might be not even trying to advise anyone, but
Mm-hmm.
somebody might hear projected to his or her own situation in life and find out the
Mm.
new way of looking into the situation. And
Yeah.
this would be also help. So
Yes. I agree. I agree. And that's maybe one of the reasons I always am kind of fascinated. Like I'm a really open person in general, and like open to ideas, open to everything. So I'm really kind of like fascinated about like why people do what they do, and why they value some things that they value and all these things. So it's kind of fascinating to hear people talk about their values and stuff. So yeah, that's always it gives me ideas on what can I maybe do myself, and also it gives me kind of, yeah, possibly some others also, especially if they hear the conversation. So it's
yeah.
like it's shared good in a way.
And then also on top of that, I mean, the podcast, apart from creativity and a part of, let's say sitting and speaking with people,
Mm.
it is also a big knowledge. So this is how, like, my ambition also to learn from
Mm-hmm.
the conversations.
Yeah.
Though I've sit down with a certain business entrepreneur and I'm entrepreneur myself, I will ask questions that, the most interested for me. So
Yeah.
then I can learn from the person directly, so
Yes.
then I can be better. This is
Yeah.
this is great.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I think so too. I think especially like listening is kind of easy. I think it's I'm looking at why my fucking voice sounds like that, but okay. It's like listening is easy, I would say, like that you can always do something else at the same time, and
Mm,
it's kind of more natural than actually reading or writing, in that sense that we have listened to so long in our lives for every kind of thing. or like all kinds of things. But then in general, I think listening is more old, like if you think it evolutionary sense. So yeah, it makes sense to just talk and share knowledge, and I think
Sure.
that's how we have kind of like, yeah, before books, kind of like it's everything passed down to the next generation by actually talking and
Yeah.
listening to other people.
The only problem is that, like, through couple of generation, the story kind of converts so much.
Yeah, it's the broken telephone
Yeah,
thing.
broken telephone thing. Yes, yes.
Yeah, it can be so shitty, or either the like they have talked about like mm, can go off almost in a tangent, but like religion and stuff, like the stories that are thousands of years old, all the unnecessary shit kind of like gets cut out because no one remembers
Mm.
something that's unnecessary. Like you don't remember what happened yesterday that wasn't important, or a week before
Yeah.
especially, or something like that, but you remember the important stuff actually. So that's, I think, in really interesting in that sense, like also what has lasted through time and all these things. And hmm, and that also reminded me, like you said, that it's this is almost like a good excuse in a
Mm.
way to sit down with people and actually talk and listen to them, and like it also gives you almost the ability that, like, yeah, maybe some other person wouldn't, for some reason. I don't know, well, it doesn't matter, like people don't want to talk with everyone, let's say.
True.
So it gives them also an opportunity, an outlet to express themselves and tell something, whatever they want to talk about. And yeah, it gives you all these opportunities to talk with people, spread ideas, and hopefully they're good ideas.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be dog shit, like especially with me talking here. So it's like, yeah, it's all well, but it's good old fun, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah, agree. 100% agree. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you said also like, or I know, remembering from last time, that that's what you basically are doing with your business also. So you're trying to help other people basically succeed. So yeah, I know it's in the beginning stages, baby, but you can talk about that and what you're also trying to do with that.
Yeah. So I've joined as a co-founder in June, and we are called
Hmm.
Mentorna, and we help founders and influencer to scale or to get to the next level of revenue, and we
Hmm.
do it through growth hacking techniques, and then through marketing techniques, and then through community building.
Hmm.
And then so we have two kind of profile customers that we're working with. These are the founders, so the people who've just started and then they just need help to figure out how to get to the solid traction to secure funding, for example, or how to establish business and continue there. And then we also help influencers. So influencers, what they are great at, they're great in building communities
Hmm.
sometimes, and then they're surely mostly are great in creating content and then to share what they're doing. And then people, there's creates following, they have so kind of social media to certain levels, and
Hmm.
then everybody likes them. But then there's a question of how you commercialize that.
Yeah.
And then here, this is when we can come in, we can understand what is their value proposition, how they help, what are the potential products they can create, and then maybe digital product, or maybe they can partner up with some certain brands,
Hmm.
and then we help them monetize their performance.
Yeah. It's kind of almost like, well, it's not exactly, well, like, how would I think about it? Like almost like a manager, or like music studio, or the music record labels actually kind of like, I know they scheme a lot of money in between, but like I'm not saying that's what you do, but like they, in the best case scenario, they would actually kind of like help the artist to be the artist and just kind of focus on creating more art, whatever it is, like music, all these things.
Yeah,
And then you can just help them and guide them out throughout the way, and just kind of like let them.
to some extent, yeah. So then we also come more from the strategical approach.
Hmm.
So we come in, understand the existing business existing offering, what is happening now, and then extrapolate it to certain strategy. So we call it marketing strategy, but then eventually it can be a business plan, or I don't know, marketing plan, or you can call it whatever you want, depending from the project we are working on. And once this is done, we help with executing it. So then sometimes we do things with our own hands, sometimes we find the subcontractors, so somebody could do it, or sometimes the founders or the influencers, they can also do it themselves. So, and it is actually good practice, because we are there usually on the contractual terms, meaning that we come in 3 or 6 months. And then through this time, we have a cooperation, we streamline everything, we establish everything, and then we leave. And by this time, hopefully we earn something together and we get just the cut from that. But then the creator or the founder, they continue without us.
Yeah. So actually maybe more like consulting in that sense, maybe.
Yes. And it is, from the business perspective, I mean, we also really recognize the business model that it's not optimal. We are typical agency or consultancy, and it's really non-scalable. But then also that's not what we want. We are also we are developing certain business ideas. We are testing them while we are doing that, and we are building the brand for the approach, because we believe that this strategic approach that we are using, it is really helping people. So we are developing this approach, helping the influencers, and meanwhile developing the brand, but we hardly will be developing the agency. I don't think we will be scaling it, because if we try to scale, we will end up in another marketing agency that I think if you Google marketing agency Helsinki, you'll have at least thousands of them.
basically, yes. And it's just another one of those, or like, you want to separate yourself from the crowd, let's say.
We want to separate ourselves, and also I think we don't feel like them in a sense, because I come from something different. I come not from marketing background. So, if you put me and the typical marketing co-founder in line, I will lose around all the probably typical metrics. But then also, because I'm losing in those, I'm actually way better in some other things, right? So, and then I recognize that my co-founder, so there are two of us, he is from tech background, and he knows a lot about marketing, right? But then I think he also brings to the table something different. And then together we are trying to have this new strategic approach to marketing. So it just, let's say, different. But we call it marketing because this is easiest how you explain it.
It's easy to explain to other people. What do you feel like you kind of went to it a little bit, but what are especially your personal strengths and like your company's strengths to kind of compete with the other companies?
This is a hard one. So my personal strength, I think, so what is actually aligns pretty well with the company that we are doing now, it is this ability to have the strategic thinking and really long term, after the horizon kind of vision, and ability to narrow it down to tactical. So I'm one of those people who can actually imagine what will be happening after a million years. And then some kind of imagination I have, but then in the next few minutes I can drill down to the tactical thing, and I can open spreadsheet and then start doing things with my hands, and like, okay, now let's start chopping the wood. So I think this is the strength that I have that's really applicable now. And then my other strength, funnily, yesterday I'm also part of Slush. I will be one of the team leaders there for upcoming Slush, so helping them out with the operational setup. So there will be like 6 group leads and 30 volunteers in my kind of supervision. So I'm again the team lead there. So we had the meeting yesterday, and they had some difficult questions to me, kind of because it was get to know. So then of course we wanted to get to know each other better or more. So I reflected there, and I think my another strength is the ability kind of effectively switch between things. And I think this is what is important also in the team leadership. So I feel that I'm a great team leader, but then what enables me, in addition to kind of people skills that I understand and I feel people. The
Mm.
another side of it is the ability to switch between topics on
Mhm.
demand. So
Yeah.
I'm one of those that I can do something today and something completely different tomorrow. I might
Mhm.
be not super excellent in any of those,
Mhm.
but let's say I would be good enough
Yeah,
in
yeah.
each one because I have ability to focus on what matters. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. And for maybe some people, if they don't know Slush, isn't it basically the startup convention that is in the
Conference, yeah.
conference that's happening in Messukeskus?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
every November. So then I think everybody knows November weather in Helsinki. So this is slush weather.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
But I
That's
think
also
it's one
true.
of the biggest, they say, this tech startup entrepreneurial
Hmm.
conferences, and then it happens every year in November. It's
Yeah,
big and cool. Really, recommend to people to check out.
yeah. I've seen some videos, but never been actually there. How much people are you expecting? You have any idea? Like how many people will be there? How
Not
many
on top of my
companies?
head, but let's say 10,000 people at least,
Yeah, yeah.
like visitors. And then it's a quite cool synergy because there's lots of startups, lots of
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
really different stages. Somebody's pre-seed or somebody seed, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody's like super, I don't know, solid company.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are slash partners coming up, big companies like Microsoft or Nordea,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I'm not sure who exactly coming this year,
Mm-hmm.
but then usually some big corporations also come and be present
Yeah.
because we're looking into the future. So we need to build the startups, we need to start this
Mm-hmm.
innovative ideas, so then the corporations also recognize it and
Mm-hmm.
jump on board.
Yeah, of course. It's a lot of opportunities to make all kinds of connections and like actually create a nice network of people around you. And it's always like I think interesting to see all kinds of developments in different fields. I would say like it's been a long time like I've been to those kind of conference things, but like one that I remember, I was like 4 years ago maybe, and it was about basically all the new technologies that
Mm.
were happening. So especially while I was still studying at the time or finishing my studies basically, but like it was really interesting to see all kinds of, well then it was the year of actually like all this internet of things, if you know what that is, and
Yeah.
like big data and all the 5G shit was about to like come alive basically. And it was kind of cool to go and see how people talked about it and where you can actually use it and what are their ideas of where things are going basically. So
How cool is that? So 5G is
yeah,
pretty normal nowadays.
yeah, yeah,
They're like, you just go to what Elisa DNA and then they
yeah,
hook you up with the contract for 5G.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And some people say that they give you cancer.
You see I'm wearing the head, the foil hat.
Yeah, yeah, tinfoil hat, yes. Or like it spreads COVID or it creates cancer or like, yeah, I don't know. It's fucking ridiculous sometimes. But I don't know. There are maybe some studies that say that some sort of course, radiation is not good for you. But I think the Wi-Fi and all these things is not like a thing that affects you that much. I
I
would
don't know. I
say.
need to maybe check some studies or research, but I don't think if it would be this bad, we wouldn't have it in every flat.
Yeah, yeah, and I think basically a lot more people would be dying of cancer
Yeah,
then.
right.
So yeah, it's basically because fucking everybody has a phone, and your whole life is almost in it,
Mm,
and
mm, mm.
you have to carry it around all the places. And like, it made me also just a side note to think about how much actually is in your phone. When I cracked my screen like 3 weeks ago, it's like, fuck. I was supposed to pay my taxes today, and like I can't do that anymore. I
Yeah,
can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do my banking because the verification comes through the
everything is
phone.
there. Yeah, yeah.
So it's basically you have to use it or have to get it, and like it's kind of crazy that like thinking about like back to my childhood when people were playing outside and all this, no phones inside. You actually went to your like neighbors and all these things, knock on their phone door, and they're like, can you come out to play and all
Have you
these
been
things.
screaming Like in my
screen.
childhood, in some places that you would go to call your friends, and you're like,
Ah,
they're
yeah.
they're in the bottom of the building, and he lives on the third floor, and you're like, Ilka, Ilka.
Maybe I didn't do that as
No.
much, but like I get what you mean, and yeah, that has definitely been a thing that I can kind of like remember people doing in some
Yeah,
sense. Or
yeah.
yeah. It's like, are you available? There is even the old commercial that made me think about that. Like, it was a dude on a basically like an island on a cottage,
Hmm.
and it's a multitude of islands around it.
Right.
Like, and there's like, I put the sauna on, and there is beer. Come here, and then it's
Yeah.
like he just tried to invite the one dude, but then he looks out. There's like tens of boats rowing there. Like, okay, we're gonna have some free beers and everything.
Nice,
So
you're coming. Yeah.
yeah, we're coming there too. But yeah, so that can happen if you start to yell too loudly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but all right, but like yeah, you're involved in a lot of good things, and I think like we talked about last time, I feel like that's definitely a area that will become or will be becoming more and more relevant in that sense. I see more and more um, people and like even like, well, maybe not the bigger networks, but a lot of people and companies go to influencers or some just people to actually advertise their products and everything. And it's definitely growing all the time, the content creation and all these things. So what do you feel in general, like since you can see into the future of podcasting and all these things, and because we're both in the same business or in the area, like where do you see this going, and what do you think about the current situation of it at the moment?
For the podcast, and just podcast as a part of media sphere.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like let's say media also in general and all these things, but like podcast as a part of it.
Yeah, I think, or my feeling is that podcast is here to stay,
Mm,
and it will be here, like in the future, kind of almost forever.
mhm,
And because it's such a good, like, I don't know, the way to complement your well-being
mm,
or your existence.
mm,
But then on the same side, I feel it's really not easy to produce,
mm,
to scale,
mm, mm.
and then to retain the listener.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like now, we just sit down, we're speaking, and then some people, they will find out that, okay, in the beginning we spoke about, let's say, business, and
Mhm,
then they found it interesting, and then
mhm,
now we are speaking about the podcasting, and then they're like, oh yeah, I'm not interested anymore, so let's
mhm,
maybe listen to something else. But then on a contrast, that's if the listeners are, let's say, vibing
mm.
with yourself,
Yeah.
so then they are probably vibing through the episodes, and then they got this, let's say, resonance, or how you say it,
Resonates.
so they
Yeah.
resonate with yourself as a
Mm,
creator,
mm,
and then the way you discuss things, with your guests. So then they will keep vibing through the episodes. So this is why I think it is here to stay, even though the TikTok is kind of here and the short
mm,
form content is pushing, and everything is just kind of shorter, attention spans, focus spans, everything becomes super short.
mhm,
And then this is also another future that I see, but I don't believe that it can substitute the podcasting.
mm,
So I
mm.
think there will be a place for a podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe one side, another side. So something else, what I thought is that, people like you or me,
Mm,
the argument of doing the podcast is actually because we kind of like it.
yeah.
I kind of feel that I've learned so much since I've started. And also in the very beginning, I told to someone, I want to start,
Mm, mm.
and if nobody listens, then nobody listens. Then,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's sad for me as a creator, but doesn't change the difference. I still can have a conversations with people. I still gonna have my, learning journey, and I still
Mhm,
gonna enjoy it, like
mhm,
as a process. So Yeah, if nobody listens, then nobody listens. So what can you do?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That is definitely true.
What do you think? So is podcast staying?
Yes, I feel like there is definitely what is the word again? A want or a need. Well, maybe not need, but like a really big want and demand
Mm,
for something, especially that's authentic. Like,
true.
I feel like the mainstream media and all these things and like the things on TV, they're I feel like sometimes, especially I have seen some latest commercials about like new things that's coming on TV, and it feels like they're running out of ideas, and it's just like some crazy form of mindless entertainment, let's
Mm.
say. Like I saw this new show, well, sorry if anyone likes it, but it just seems fucking dumb. But like it was called A Silent Library or something like that, and people just go sit in a library and then they do all kinds of dumb shit, like fucking smash shit in their faces. I think I saw one guy throwing a dart on the other person or whatever, and you're just basically trying to stay quiet. And if not, then the host of the thing comes and gives you some, was it like a fucking
Mhm.
electric shock or something? Like he just smashes an egg on your head, like,
Yeah.
and
But
it's just,
but here's the question. So if they produce this, level of content,
mm,
then there's a probably the ask for that. There is a demand for this type of thing. So
yeah, yeah, in a way. I think, yes, like, especially, yes, there is a demand for mindless entertainment, let's say,
mm,
and we have definitely seen that with like TikTok and all these things. And um but then I feel like they are almost like they just, how they come up with these shows, it's like they just close their eyes and they have some ideas and okay, we're going with that one. So,
yeah.
and just like, or I think there was a South Park episode of how Family Guy writes episodes or something like
Mm,
that, and it was these manatees just in a pool, and there were just these balls with different words, and if a manatee took the ball and put it here, it's like, okay, that word, and that word, and that word. Okay, what can we come up with this?
yeah, yeah,
So it's just like so random and just, I don't know. For me, it seems kind of like so waste of time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But of course, if someone enjoys it, like let them enjoy it. But like it seems like, and yeah, they're also recreating a lot of old shows. Nothing is almost like original and new. But I feel like the podcasting and all these things, people are interested in other people in general.
True.
And if we can find some people who are actually like more interesting and kind of like maybe even share all kinds of interesting stories and all these things and whatever, I feel like that's appealing to a lot of people at the moment. And yeah, and when you start to look at the numbers of social media stuff and individual content creators, like how much coverage and views they get versus like the mainstream television programs, it's a big difference. And that's why I also think a lot of advertisers are going for the content creators
Yeah.
and not the TV, even though there are still some people who watch TV. And especially, I think it could be just a guess and feeling. It's the older population, maybe, who are used to the TV
Right.
being the thing. But like, yeah, I feel it's changing a lot, like the atmosphere and platform of basically everything.
Yeah, and just to complement, I think we live in like, or not we live, I mean, of course we live in remarkable times, but the
Hmm.
now somewhere like this year or previous year or the following year.
Mm-mm.
So what is happening, there is this shift from traditional media like TV,
Mm-mm.
newspapers, radio,
Yes.
towards the social media. So
Yes.
I believe it does happen kind of somewhere now.
Hmm.
The recent example was the debates in US
Yes.
when
Hmm.
Trump he skipped the debates and then he went for Twitter, and then the Twitter
Yes.
rankings been like way above everybody else who was watching the debates on TV.
Yes.
So, and I think already this is, like a bell about social media actually,
Mhm.
overtaking, but probably already overtook, because
Yes.
we just don't have correct metrics to compare the exposure.
Mm.
But probably they already overtook the, let's say, media and information space,
Yeah.
like we see the total information space.
Hmm. I would agree because I just like took a look of those a little bit actually like this week and last week, and the interview with it was with Tucker Carlson, and he was all before he went into like rogue. Let's say he was at Fox News, and he was the most watched Fox News journalist or like
Mhm.
interviewer, and yeah, they fired him because he wanted to go ask kind of like or do it more like his way and like do maybe talk about things that some people think that you shouldn't talk about or ask these questions or whatever. And it seems like even for him, he was doing really well at Fox, but now he's doing really, really well. And it's just like also, I think that kind of shows that it's not about anymore about what show you can get on
Mhm.
or something like that. It's much more like what can you do yourself and how can you produce something that's valuable or interesting for other people. Because like yeah, the interview or the debate, well, not that much of a debate I think, but kind of like more of an interview, let's say, because they didn't debate that much issues
Yeah,
because I actually watched it. So it had 266 million views.
huge.
That's a lot for a political like discussion.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really lot. So, and it also gives you the possibility to talk about in the longer format, like we're doing at the moment, also. Because I think, like, yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier, also, but like, it's so retarded that you have 2 minutes to answer to a question about, like, okay, how do you fix the economics
Yeah, right.
of
I
this
mean,
country?
how can you do it
Econom, yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
2 minutes?
Yeah, it's like, well, and then
Okay,
also,
luckily I have this plan. One, two, three.
yeah,
Reminds me of TikToks, when it's like also something ridiculous and super funny. How to be successful.
mm,
First, you learn what do you want to do.
mm,
Second, you do. Third, be successful. I'm like, thank you.
yes, yes. All right, now
How
I
to
get
fix the economy.
it.
Learn what it is economy, fix it, be happy.
Yeah, that's simple, very simple.
Yeah.
3-step progress process. And also, what's kind of funny or annoying also about those discussions, it's like half of the time the person is like almost stopped from talking by some other like, well, you did this, like, oh my god. And
It is
it's so
interesting in
dumb.
the debates. What I've noticed, because they have incentive, let's say, to
Hmm.
overtake, they
Yeah,
are
yeah.
frequently capturing some certain words from speeches or certain smaller opinions. And
Yes.
when you listen for like a bigger idea, it is something completely different. And then
Hmm.
they grasp this something small from between, from wording or
Yeah,
some sentiment from inside,
yeah, yeah,
and then they steer the discussion to another side, because of course they have another, like, a goal or direction that they want to achieve.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, come on.
Yeah, and you catch on to like the smallest of words and all these things. And I think also what is I would say pretty bad about those things, like especially because they get so kind of black and white, even though they're never black and white issues.
Mm,
Like, let's say, I think a lot of countries in the world at the moment are suffering from the problem of open borders.
mm,
And if you talk about this, everybody thinks like you're a fucking racist,
mm.
you're a xenophobe or whatever, like blah, 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 blah. And it's just feels fucking dumb because like yeah, like how would I put it this like simply? Let's imagine like you have a certain amount of money and you can basically take care of yourself, maybe someone else. But let's add 2 people to the household. Can you still do it? Let's add 3 people. Let's
Mm.
add 4 people. And we all are in basically this same kind of situation. And we just can't like have the finances to help everybody. And that's just a fact. Unless you want to print endless amount of more money and that actually inflates the money and then it's worth nothing and then we're all
Yeah,
fucked.
yeah.
But like it's not a matter of like we're being racist or anything, but actually especially those kind of open border things make it harder for the kind of like, let's say, legal immigrants to also come in here. Because like if we have a lot of illegal immigrants and we just house them here, they start to work even here. They, because they are illegal, they don't have any of the rights that you are basically entitled to.
Mm.
And then that also like fucks the legal immigrants in that sense that it's way harder for them to get a job, because the illegal ones, yeah, some frivolous people can be like, huh, I know you can't negotiate because like
Yeah.
you're shit out of luck. I give you €5 or like €2 an hour. But like, okay. And that also, because they can hire those people, then the people who actually are legally here are smart and all these things. They have done their work and they want to work. And it's like, well, we
And
can't
I
we
see
can't hire you. You're too expensive.
I see what you mean, and it's exactly like that. And it's not only about yes and no, but it's
Yeah.
also a question of how.
Yeah, yeah.
Because also for the immigration, so what I've heard, something terrible is happening is that when, let's say,
Mhm.
refugees, they come over
Mhm.
and then they wait for the documents.
Mm.
And I heard that there are people there like, yes, we are ready for work, we want to work,
Mm-mm-mm.
they also even ready to suffer to, search for a job thing, because it's not
Mhm.
easy just to find a job nowadays. You
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
kind of prove that you are kind of capable, even
Yes.
for low effort jobs or low
Mhm.
pay jobs. And then they want to do it, but then because of the documents, and then documents being delayed for
Mhm.
you don't know for how long, so
Mm.
they cannot even start.
Yeah.
And then they're just kind of hanging out, and then they hang out, they're pissing off each other, they're pissing off themselves, they're pissing off
Mhm.
local people, and then
Mm-mm.
we are ending up in the crisis. And then we actually need to open up a discussion about,
Mm.
is it good or is it bad? I'm like, yeah, but maybe we should fix their documents and let them integrate, let them work, let them study, because many of them actually, that's what they wanted, different
Yeah.
life, the new life. So
Yes.
that's why they came.
Yeah, yeah. So that is totally true. And I'm not sure what the situation is in here, but I just heard, I think it was on actually one of the debates. They said that the court hearings are like there's no judges basically, and like you get, like you said, like the documents are coming and coming and coming, and the reason is like there's not enough judges to keep the actual kind of like hearings in court and decides like, okay, yeah, we can, this is approved.
Hmm.
But there's so few people that the dates will go like fucking 5 years ahead, like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
you can, we have your hearing in a year, so yeah, you're shit out of luck in that time. Like,
yeah.
go in the some refugee camp or whatever.
Yeah,
That's just there.
go do crimes. Basically, so what? Me translating to the
Yeah,
modern world situation. Yeah, go do crimes. Thank you.
yeah. Go do crimes because you can't.
You cannot
Live.
do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't live your or like support yourself in any kind of way. So, and that I think will create a lot of issues. But then again, I'm not sure we even kind of kept it strict in that sense, or like kind of short. We didn't, or because of course we're not maybe the experts in this matter, but like even that, I think it took like 6 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever,
Mm.
and you could never talk about that. You could just, because the first thing you say, we need to do something about the borders, then the other person starts to yell like,
Yeah.
racist, you fucking racist, how
Yeah,
can
yeah,
you be
yeah.
like this, like you don't value human life, or
Yeah.
humans don't mean nothing to you. And it's like, well, no, but then you have to kind of like start to, I am not a racist, and then the point becomes that.
Because
And
then
that's,
the discussion already shifted. So then instead
yes.
of discussing, let's say, how to make the immigration, like
Mm-hmm.
let's say, more flawless,
Yeah.
how to integrate the people who are
Mm-hmm.
coming, how to regulate the process,
Mm-hmm.
instead of all of these great topics to discuss and maybe come up with certain plans.
Mm-hmm.
You're shifted to the topics of racism, yes or no,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is super obvious for everybody. And then why would you discuss this during the discussions and the debate? So
Yeah. Well, I still, of course, believe that, well, racism will never totally go away. But nowadays, especially everyone basically that's my age or younger, or even the older people, like, they don't give a fuck.
hey, did you know,
They
by the
don't
way,
give a
so I was
fuck.
thinking of this another time. I think internet in this sense have a
Mm,
really positive impact,
mm-hmm,
because what I feel, because of all the online games, all
mm-hmm,
the online content, all the TikToks, YouTubes, or whatever the kids are watching, kids and
mm-hmm,
adults, so they're
mm-hmm.
growing with that, so they're
Yeah.
growing in the more like multinational
Mm-hmm.
environment.
Yeah.
So I think their perception is kind of changing.
That is
So
true.
my kind of hypothesis is that the social media actually helps against
Mm-hmm.
racism.
Well, yeah, I would definitely think so, because I was talking about this with my, or something along these lines, a little bit with my girlfriend. Was it this week or
Mm.
whatever? Well, yeah, shout out to her. But
Is she
yeah,
listening your episodes?
like, yeah, sometimes I heard that she does, so it kind of feels weird in a way, but like, yeah, sure, it's for
Mm.
everyone, so if you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
listen, so yeah, go ahead. But yeah, we talked about like people, like accents and stuff. Like, I remember from my youth, like, every time I think I traveled, even within Finland, you could hear people have different kind of accents and
Yeah.
stuff. And that, like, back in the day, was a little bit like thing that maybe differentiates from you, uh, from them.
Yeah.
Let's say they feel weird, they talk funny, and it's like, and it almost was well, maybe not hating on the other person, but it was like, um yeah, different.
Mm.
And that could easily lead up, or I can even remember, there's maybe sometimes that well, I didn't get into these situations, but I have heard these kind of situations that just because someone sounds different, and then they're kind of like, hey, you, where are you from? And like, you're not from here. And then they basically almost like threaten with violence, like, get the fuck out of here, you fucking foreigner, or whatever, even to like, even though they were Finnish, just talking a little bit differently.
Crazy.
And the same situation was back in her, like, childhood home. There was like, just because you were from a different block, basically,
Mm.
and they recognized, because the people live in the small blocks and everything, they recognized you. Yeah, you're not from here. No, we'll get him, and all these things, like, fucking nuts. But I think more and more we got exposed to all kinds of other people. Yeah, you might it feels that they talk funny. Let's say if I would start talking English in like this, and
Mm.
it's like,
Mm.
huh,
Mm.
and it's can sound kind of funny, but then you
Yeah.
just learn that they're people also.
True.
So I think that social media and all these things actually kind of, yeah, like you said, helps with that, because you're
You're
exposed
exposed. Yeah. True.
so much more stuff, like even when you're young.
Yeah, and traveling helps. I
Yeah,
think
well, yeah.
more you travel, more you meet different people. Then you
Mhm.
can expand, and you can recognize whether the people are actually great everywhere,
Yeah.
or people are shit everywhere. This is, I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
unfortunately, there are great people, there are fine people, and there are bad people. So
Yes, that is true. Like, assholes come in all sizes and shapes and
yeah, yeah,
colors and whatever, if you want to call them. So it's not I think it's, yeah, it's always the individual who you should judge, not the whatever characteristic you want to take from them, like
kind of, yeah.
man, like race, whatever. Like, I kind of even race the word just kind of seems like fucking.
It's interesting.
I don't know.
We faced it a lot. So, like, one of the companies I was working before went
Mhm.
through this big crisis or media crisis, because there were some harassment cases in the company, and then we were taking public. There were lots of news, and there was a lot of kind of this hatred from the newspapers of Finland towards the company, and then it actually created the perception of wrong company culture. So then
Yeah.
I got the question when people heard that I'm working there. So I got frequently the question is like, is the harassment, is the like, you know, culture there, is it you know, supported? And I'm
Yeah.
like the reality is not. But then if you want to ask me if the cases happened, I think they did.
Yeah.
And but then also something was done, you know, to kind of to avoid this in the future. But then it was never the culture of the company to kind of, let's say, make it happen and continue. But unfortunately, the people are people. So then
Yes.
even in the kind of good culturally, you know, I don't know, good culture company, there were people who did something wrong.
Yes.
Because they're just many people and they're all different. So
Yeah, that is like just numbers in general. Like, let's say, to be even kind, I would say the number can be even higher, but like, let's just say 1 in 100 or 1 out of 10 people can be kind of like a dick.
surely,
Yeah.
easily.
So when you start to have 50 people in a company, 60 people, 70
Imagine,
people,
yeah.
so the probability of at least one asshole being there will go up all the time. So that's just like people in masses, basically. And yeah, that's just like, and I also just reminded me of a statistic. Like, it doesn't mean that every company has like a fucking sociopath in there or psychopath. Like, it's generally like 4% of the population is like psychopathic or sociopathic. So that's also like, yeah. So it is like possible that you can get like shitty people in your company. And but then that's actually maybe one thing that's been going wrong, I think, in the age of social media, that we see the doings of one person as the responsible too much of the company, let's say. And like, if one person does this or says this, it means that the company is like, they value these things, or like, but that's, I think that's way wrong. Like, because we all are individuals and we should have our individual freedom of expression and speech, and we should all have our own values and ideas. Some of them can be like real shitty,
True.
but some of them can be good. But we should definitely separate the companies from the individuals. And that's like, because I have seen and even kind of, yeah, seen it personally, and to affect the decisions, and like people saying to people like, you can't post that in social media because we might lose clients, etc., etc. It's like, well, it's mine. It's like my thing. Like, why? So we should definitely separate that. So do you think there is, I know at least one other thing that comes to mind, but in your opinion, like you said, social media is a good place, or it can have its benefits, but like, what may be the downsides of social media at the current climate?
The way I see it, like, you know, the social media, ultimately, if we like really look at this big, social media is the representation of, you know, people. So, and then how we already discussed, there are good people and the bad people. So then surely, since we have bad people, we will have a bad like impact of social media on the good people, because you can and this is also problem of, let's say, you know, freedom of speech. So you cannot forbid me to, you know, express my opinion on certain things, and then my opinion might be, you know, not that good, and then I might influence if I do some certain arguments, or if I'm persuasive, or if I'm, I don't know, cool, and I'm an influencer and I have this ability. So then I really might bring something bad. So I think let's say we cannot fix it unless we fix the society, unless we fix the people. And then it is really tricky, and I'm really not an expert, because then there's also the borderline of, you know, if you try to regulate. So it's a borderline between the censorship, and then, you know, is there freedom of speech if we forbid the bad things, and who gonna decide what is good, what is bad? So
Yeah.
who will be a policeman?
Yes.
So it is really difficult topic,
Yes.
but
I agree.
yeah.
It is, and especially like you said, it's about like, because I think that was the, like when Facebook and other companies, they were basically almost sued or thought about like if they would be getting sued, is like you need to moderate your content, or are you kind of like alleviated of the what you're actually like the what is the content inside of your platform? Because like if you start to regulate the content, that means you're basically responsible for what is there. But if you don't regulate, then you can kind of like wash your hands away from it, and it's not my problem. We just use this or give this platform to people to express themselves freely. And I think that actually, in my opinion, is the way to go, because like being the policeman of like what is good and what is not, it's a tricky issue. And especially like how we have maybe seen, or I think I have at least noticed how some social media companies have been moderating their content lately. It's like they start to almost, well, not to play God, but like in a way like I know what's good for everyone, and this is the way to go, even though you don't like it, but this is how we're gonna do it, like, and this speech is not allowed and all these
And
things.
also
It's like
imagine how much of power they are getting on the I don't know, the common opinions and common beliefs. So let's say Facebook, so Meta Group, right? So they have their own plenty. So Facebook, Instagram, and bunch of other social medias, and so they have a data about everything that is happening there.
Yes.
They can run the analysis, they can understand the trends, and also they are, let's say, the certain policeman who restricts the types of content. And then in certain cases, let's say with racism, it's clear, like, you know, when is the also, what are those, how you call it when it's I don't know, crime related, when it's kind of something
it's
really
criminal,
like super criminal thing. So it is clear. So there is no, you know, kind of if. It's kind of, you know, you just ban it and that's it. But then there are many borderlines, and then they can understand that they can steer those, and then on top of this, they can also steer the good things. So, you know, maybe I wake up tomorrow and then Meta will make me believe that apple is my favorite fruit. Because it is really possible. They're just gonna show me apples for half a year time. And then I just blink, and then half a year from now, apple is my favorite fruit. And it is crazy to understand that they have actually this power on this many people.
Yes. Because again, we're all carrying it all the time. And a lot of us are fucking addicted to this thing. And we just look at it all the time, and if you can narrate what everyone sees, then
one of my colleagues today, we like in the office, it was an interesting conversation. So we have this smart speaker, so we speak to it like, hey, put the music, you know, change the track, put this type of music. So it's quite convenient actually. And then today I said like, hey, I kind of like speaking to it, so maybe I should you know, also buy one. And then my colleague, she was like, yeah, we have one, but then she said that I heard that the speaker kind of listens to everything. And I'm like, of course it does. But then, you know, guess what? You have a laptop, you have your phone. I think Kettle already listening to me all the time as well, because everything is smart. Everywhere is microphone. So it's just flawless, and we just need to accept it. And maybe we just need to be aware of it. And I don't know if we can affect it. I mean, probably together we can, but then before affecting, we actually need to understand the systems and structure and just be aware of it before we actually do anything.
I feel like in a way it's like, because I understand like if you want it to work in that sense that it always activates on voice command, it has to listen to you all the time. That's just the way it is. But in a way, I wouldn't want to accept that. I would much rather have something that I press it or something and then it activates, because I don't want to it to basically listen to me all the time, because again, like you said, it gives a fucking massive power and like all the opportunities to do, well, even good, but also a lot of bad things for the, especially the companies that collect the data.
Mm.
So they know everything about you. And it's like, I think we have all noticed that they, of course, they will use it and monetize it,
Mm.
because, like, yeah, I think also, like you just talking about that speaker, it wouldn't take that much long to for you to actually surprisingly see an ad about that speaker.
Yes, yes,
So
probably.
how did they know? And all these things, like, but yeah, it's like if a, like, let's say the iPhone, it's, of course, it's like, or these things, they're always listening, because it has to be like ready when you say, "Hey Siri," it's like right
Mm.
away. It's like, yeah, but if it
I'm
that wouldn't
surprised
listen,
your Siri didn't answer. Like, what do you want?
yeah, I'm like fucking trying to keep it down. I have that bitch on a leash.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy the power that the social media companies and all these things have, because yeah, it's like that reminded me of a few things. But like, have you heard about the or do you know what are Twitter files?
Twitter files.
Yes.
What are those?
It was kind of exposure of internal communication within the Twitter, and a lot of other organizations like the CIA and the FBI.
Mm.
And it was like released by individual journalists that got the data from Elon Musk when he bought Twitter. Um, and then he was like, this is the stuff, go through it, and whatever you can kind of like find, and you can just publish it and everything. And they had emails and messages between like Twitter and CIA and FBI, to like them saying, hey, we want to silence
Right.
this person doesn't have the opportunity to talk, we need to like moderate him and his content,
Yeah.
all these things, yada yada yada, these topics shouldn't be discussed. And there was a lot of things, and they silenced a lot of a lot of people about certain topics. And for example, I think that's also like a clear, or they even polled about this later, but like it was a clear indication that they actually meddled with the election, in that sense that
Mm.
they totally banned and silence and like just made it vanish. The, I'm not sure if you heard about the Hunter Biden laptop thing, or is that doesn't ring a bell? Okay, well, Hunter Biden, like the name says, is the child or son of Joe Biden,
Right.
and he is a fucking character, let's say, from what I understand. He's like known for smoking meth and taking drugs, all
Okay.
these things, fucking hookers and taking pictures of them and everything, like
Okay.
him having sex with all these things. And yeah, I think he's involved in all kinds of shady deals, and they were like funneling money through Ukraine to Joe Biden and everything. And then the documents and evidence for this was on his laptop, that he, I think he was meth, or like the story is that he was like really fucked up, maybe on some drugs again,
Yeah.
and left the laptop to some like kind of like maintenance repair thing, and just like forgot it there. And then the like other, like I think the FBI and all these things got hold of it, and it's like, okay, yes, we're
Okay.
not gonna mention this at all, because I think they really wanted Joe Biden to win the election, and like against Trump. And they even polled later if people would have, because now it's public information, you can even find articles and all these things about this in New York Times and Post, and I think all these things. But like they polled later, would you have voted differently if you knew this before the election? Because it basically was happening, was a month or 2 months just before the election night was actually. So yeah, they used social media to affect people's minds to just choose whatever they felt like was the
Mm.
right choice, not what the people thought was the right choice. Of course, again, you can think like, in your opinion, what is the best choice for this thing, but they chose it for you.
Kind of, yeah, they chose it, yeah.
And that's really like overuse of your power, I would say. And yeah, those things are scary. And Twitter was the only one that kind of like was caught from it, because yeah, Elon Musk gave them the data, but I guess that basically every other social media platform did it also. So what's your kind of feeling of that?
The ultimate, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just crazy that this all happens and this going on such a high level.
Yeah.
And so also, I think that now we know about this. So it's more of confirmation of the rule that is probably happening everywhere. So that's what I have a tendency to feel, because this is such a big level names and such a powerful names that are kind of interacting. Right. And then let's say nobody would be interested even to stay around the scandal. So because it's gonna hurt, probably is going to hurt the image of any organization. Like, if you say yes, if you say no, if it's leaked, because there's lots of questions to be asked, like, how the heck. So I think in the media business, any social media would actually prefer to stay out of this, let's say, mess before, during, or after the same type of happening. But then it just kind of, like, I think we got lucky that it got, like, so let's say Elon Musk bought Twitter, and now it got kind of released, and because he doesn't really care probably, and then he's busy with anything, and then we know how Elon Musk is, so he's a character. Let's admit this.
He is
Which is cool. I'm happy that there are people like Elon, so we need more of those.
I'm rooting for him in a way like this.
And then now we're gonna get to know all this mess that actually was happening, and it's like, if you ask me, well, what I think and what I feel, I'm just kind of terrified. I'm puzzled, and I really don't know why it is, how it is, why it should be like that, and how to go about this into the future, because it's a huge topic. I mean, so there is the FBI, and then there is one of the biggest social media, and then one is forcing another to keep some certain secrets. And what if? So then the FBI gonna open the case against Twitter, and then they're gonna sue them, or they're gonna prison everybody, or what will happen? Or then if Twitter releases, and so there's too many ifs and too many unknowns. So it's just crazy that it's happening.
Yeah, I would say so too. It's like fucking crazy that all these organization would be just even involved in that and trying to affect the things that they are doing. And
about Biden thing, I'm just kind of it's so weird that he's president.
He's
so
should
old.
be in a fucking nursery basically. There's just it's
I don't know, he might be super smart, and he might be,
or
I don't
might
know,
have been.
he might have been, but he might be good for, I don't know, environment or the country or whatever. But just what I see, how he sometimes behave, I mean, I feel it's probably hard to him to keep up with the day, because it is also, in addition to everything that president does, that it's really demanding from energy level. So they need to be sharp all the time. They have like their back-to-back meetings, decisions that are like really pressure decisions, and then we see kind of him almost falling asleep everywhere.
It was just like, again, from last week, I think I saw some video. He was like, anyway. And it was like, then it was like, are you okay? Basically, like, even the Mitch McConnell, I can't remember what is his job, but like, he has had basically, I think, or at least that's what I think, what happened, like, had fucking 2 strokes on live TV. He just froze for fucking minute, like, not saying anything, just like a fucking fish in a dry land, just maybe a little bit opening his mouth, like, and it's like, why are these people fucking controlling things that are important to everyone
in the world? It's like, because the US have a really strong global presence, so how come, how is possible?
I don't
know.
And then that's just a security risk and an issue. Like, why? Like, whatever you feel about the guy otherwise and his ideas, but like those,
Yeah,
that's just like fuck. They should be in a hospital or some fucking old people's home
he
or
might be
something
cool.
like
Maybe he
that.
should be like, a professor. Maybe I wouldn't mind being my professor in university. If he would teach me something. Yeah.
Yeah, the lectures would be interesting.
Yeah.
Like just 2 minutes break, like like what?
Yeah.
But I think, like you mentioned, like of course, there can be bad influences in social media and like bad ideas,
Yeah.
like fucking dumb ideas. Like one of the things that I think everybody has heard about or knows about is like the flat Earth stuff and stuff like that.
Mm.
Like it's fucking ridiculous, and yeah, if some people might fall for it, but I wouldn't say censoring it is the right answer. You should combat it with actually better ideas and
Mm.
explain it like why this is better. And it also, I think, only gives power to those people who you censor, because at least for me, I've noticed that there's few people that are, or they're like, it seems like there is an effort to silence them.
Mm.
And what I have basically found out that those people can kind of have like interesting ideas and topics that they talk about.
Mm.
Like for example, I'm not sure if you know who, let's say, Jordan Peterson is.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, like he was. They have tried to cancel him like fucking I don't know how many times, and I think from my belief, his message is not bad, and he's not trying to, like they say, he's transphobic and this and whatever and that, and but then again, I think there's basically millions of people who have told him like, you changed my life for the better, and I have like, this really helped me with
Yeah.
everything and all these things, like. But if you would just read about him from the mainstream media, you would think like he's an asshole.
Mm.
So like, what the fuck? And this again, I think it's really, really, it eats away the credibility of the mainstream media. Like, if you know something to be false and they just try to say it's this way.
Yeah.
I think they are, of course, like right about a lot of things. I'm not saying that they're totally like shit, but it seems like the quality is going down just because of all these things, and it's just like accusations that don't have
Yeah.
any like actual groundings.
The way I look at it, like from the, let's say, bigger perspective. So the social media and the media, this is whole separate world. And then ultimately, that if you go public, and then if you, let's say, produce the content, or if you reach something, if you're a politician or businessman, whatever, so you need to know the game. So you need to understand how it works, how the traditional works, how social media works, and how it all interacts. And then for Jordan Peterson, it's like, they tried to, let's say, cancel him, and they really attacked him. So he probably was aware before that, and he knew, like, how he needs to operate in the moment. So this is the whole separate world. But then maybe tuning back in terms of topic of good and bad influence on people, I think, or the way I like to see it, the people are most important in this equation. So it doesn't really matter if it's a traditional media, if it's a social media, if it's me speaking to you on the kitchen without podcast or with the podcast. What's important is the people influencing people and people agreeing with people. So I prefer maybe not to fight with a certain approaches with something that is maybe stupid or should not kind of exist, but rather inspire and educate and let's say bring something positive to some other groups of people, or to all groups of people, or all people. I think this approach should be helpful. So in practice, how it works is that, let's say, me doing podcast, and people who will listen my podcast, who like will, I don't know, watch some shorts that we're gonna produce, or reels, or whatever it is, then they might learn something small that will lead them to learn something bigger on the same topic, maybe, or on the mindset level, right? And then eventually they will not listen to somebody who is saying something stupid. So that's what I really hope for, and that's what I really cheer for, so that we are not fighting with the people who are like, believing that the earth is flat,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
rather we cultivate the mindset of people who are learning, who are critical,
Mm-hmm.
who ready to disarm themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not about, let's say, me screaming that, hey, no, the earth is like this, like that. No, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm silent about that, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm rather screaming that I will go and check facts, and then
Mm-hmm.
the people also, instead of believing him, they also go and check facts,
Mm-hmm.
and then they will paint their own picture. So this is how the person who is saying something stupid
Mm.
will be ignored.
Yeah.
And I think this ignoring, or this kind of skipping the information,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this is in nowadays, it is kind of dislike. So
Yeah, yeah.
we have likes, and
Yes.
we don't have dislikes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think not watching,
Mm-hmm.
it is a dislike.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
a way of telling your opinion anyway.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So and it's also, it's kind of, it can be considered as good and bad. So if your Instagram is not growing, so sorry, you're doing shit content.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you want it to grow, do better content. People will put more more shares. They will watch it more times, and then Instagram will go. So same with the let's say with the bigger topics about terrorism. If we all learn that terrorism is bad, and we're not gonna watch, and we're not gonna let's say and we're not gonna argue with them, then nobody will be watching them. And then if we meanwhile we support the certain governmental policies, the special forces, or whatever it is, and then there's awareness of this is happening, this is bad,
Yeah.
then it should be resolved. So this is how I kind of believe we better approach this problem of regulation. So
Yeah.
it's, instead of fighting, we cultivate.
Yeah. I think that makes sense, and it just like made me think about in general, like because like I think of course anyone can be influenced, especially if they're young. Like young people are most seductive. Fuck, what's the word? Seductive. Well, I know. Well, like yeah, couldn't pronounce it right, but whatever. To the actual influence of others, you can basically put in their head anything, and they believe it. And that's like what all the totalitarian systems always did. They just tried to educate the youth into their own ideology of the world, and of course that can happen. And that's also like why cults and everything happen. Like people just get into these things, and someone is really captivating and everything, and then they can be like, ooh, this is like real. And then you just for some reason you find out like, huh, now I'm in a cult.
Do you know about the pyramids? This not the pyramids in Egypt, but the pyramids, like a business pyramids, like when they are loaning the money to each other, and then there's a whole network. There is also this like a common scam thing. Then there are levels of onboarding,
kind of like a Ponzi scheme.
A Ponzi scheme, that's what it's called. Yeah. It's so this is the same thing. So you get kind of you get hooked into the certain promises, but then the reality is it is just kind of pyramid level scheme, and then everybody, once it kind of explodes, everybody loses money. I was actually recently, somebody tried to onboard me to one of these things, and then they really been promising a lot, and they've been not that good, so I kind of recognize it kind of quickly what it is.
Yeah.
But it is still happening. It still continues.
Well, yeah, but that's also, like you said, I think the educating otherwise and all these things is the answer for that. Like, of course, like you said, like thinking about this, because the technology at the moment makes it possible that there are no gatekeepers for spreading of information, basically. But they're trying to like maybe regulate it in somehow. But I think anyone can do it, like, and they can spread maybe bad shit. But I think that just like you can think about this also in a way of how companies should be maybe controlled, or like what I'm looking for is the mandates of all these things. Like you need all these permits and all these things, and and that's like they say that's because we want to protect the customer, and it kind of makes sense. But it seems like, or what I have learned in my opinion, that sounds the smartest. The more freer the economy and how much more freely we can actually trade and make business with each other, that is the thing that actually creates most value and kind of like success and all these things. But it puts way more higher emphasis on your actual responsibility of who
True.
you do business with and all these things. And I would say, yeah, you might get fucked over a few times, but then you learn and you
Mm,
start to
mm,
recognize who are the fucking snake oil salesmen
mm,
and
mm,
bad people. And like you just said, you recognized it right away. Oh, this guy is not like he's trying to trick me. But of course, if that would be the first time you're doing some business
mm,
deal, of course you could fall for that. But after that, you basically know and you have learned.
mm.
And I think that's the way we should kind of look all these things, like even the what is good information. You start to learn after you are, well, you should be like, we all make mistakes. You shouldn't be or thinking that you will never make a mistake because of like some regulation or something. Like, no, we all make mistakes, and it's really healthy and it's human. But the thing is, you should learn from your mistakes and take responsibility for them. So I feel like that's the angle that we kind of should be looking at this, not like censorship or anything, because when you look back in history, when was the guys who wanted to censorship others were on the good side of history, let's say? I would say never, basically.
I cannot recall, at least. Yeah. No, probably never. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then I think so something I wanted to compliment, that you touch on really important topic, and
Mm.
then this is also from the startup world. So
Mhm.
you fail fast and you fail forward. So
Yeah.
it is completely fine to fail,
Mhm.
and then the most important is you don't treat it as a failure, but
Mhm.
more as a learning. So you
Yes.
always can learn, understand, and then in the next time there is the same opportunity, you don't fail the same pit, for example, or
Yes.
you can jump over it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of like your thing in your podcast also, like you're trying to educate people on these things. And like yeah, and I feel like if you want to get good at anything, like it doesn't matter what it is, the topic, the or whatever it is that you're trying to do, you will most probably suck at it first.
Definitely.
And that's just natural. You've never done this. Like,
Mm.
how would you know? Like, whatever. Like, if I would say, just if you've never built anything with your hands, like, make me a chair. It's like, okay, but how do I do it? And maybe the first chair you do is kind of shit, but
Ugliest,
then
and you cannot sit in it. Yeah.
yeah, and it will break when you sit on it
Yeah.
and all these things. But then you get better, then you
Yeah.
get better,
Yeah.
then you get better, and the more people can get into this, like almost like a beginner mindset, that is where you will be open to listen and learn about anything. If you feel like you're setting your race, I don't want to do anything that I'm not good at, well, then you will be stuck.
Yeah,
You're
I'll
fucking
do.
stuck where you are.
Then get used to the idea that you'll be in the same place.
Yes.
So then you just learn to enjoy what you have now,
Yeah.
which is also fine for some people.
Mm.
They maybe they don't need something different. They enjoy what they are now, where they are
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is for them.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you don't like, so then this is the way you
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
something different and you fail miserably.
Yeah.
But like all of us, so
Yeah. Yeah. And you might kind of make a fool out of yourself, but I think the most important is you actually tried and
Mm,
did
mm.
something. And again, that will give you experience and all these things, like even in fucking games, because games are actually, I think they are built to resemble real life.
Mm.
You get experience even from usually failing some other thing, and you get a little bit of experience from that. And then especially if you complete the task or whatever, you get more experience, and with the more experience you usually can upgrade your skills.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
some people might be like, oh, but it makes total sense. But it's, I don't know, so for some people it's just like they're willing to do it because, again, in a game it's kind of risk free, maybe, or more risk free, but they're so afraid to do it in their real life, even though they have multitude of examples of
Mm.
like, this is actually how things work. But I don't know what's the main issue there, but maybe people are just afraid in a way. I don't know.
Or we never been thought about this. So
Well, that's
this
true. Yeah.
that's what I also find out, and I see the same patterns in um let's say meeting new people.
Mm-hmm.
So we never been taught how to meet people, and
Mm.
then how to build, let's say, new friendships, new relationships.
Yeah.
And then, like, the way I see it, that when you're a kid, it just happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then when you're adult, then
Yeah.
you're like, what should I do now?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then some people are more extroverted, so for them it's easier,
Mm-hmm.
and some people are more introverted, so for them are harder. And then on top of that, they don't know kind of what and how. We never been taught about that. Then
Yeah.
also we frequently are not taught about how to be critical,
Mm-hmm.
and how to learn, maybe how to learn or how to break down the problems.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are all the common topics, so
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
frequently never been taught about them, and we just need to figure them out somehow. So
Yeah, yeah, that is true. And I think a lot of people don't know about kind of things like is it cognitive dissonance, basically, that you have a tendency to, let's say, believe data that confirms your own opinions, and then like you usually are looking for almost like those things. Like, let's say you try to Google something, and then you basically Google the answer in already that
yeah,
you're looking
yeah,
for,
yeah.
and you're just looking for, okay, yeah, this says it's true, but you never try to look it from the other angle and
Yeah.
actually think about if it's actually true. And yeah, it's just kind of yeah, we have all these kind of mind traps or whatever you want to call them. It's like yeah, like you said, I don't think a lot of us have not learned how to think in on their own, basically. Like, it's not maybe taught in schools, maybe sometimes like philosophy or something, like you try to question things and all that jazz, but like yeah, because I think that is especially a big issue. Again, like going back to the social media, because if you can't think on your own, you can be fed any sort of narrative that just you put out, and everybody, okay, yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the big issues of the current times, or at least it feels like that.
Actually interesting. So about, like, failing and being better. So it's all about the concept of social media.
Hmm.
So if anyone actually wonders how to grow whatever social media there is, any social media, so the tactics are, let's say, different,
Hmm.
but then there are certain things that they stay consistent across all the board.
Hmm.
And first of all is the consistency, and then second of all is that you need to be better. So
Yeah.
first you start to create, because it's a creation process.
Mhm.
You are writing the tweet, or you're making a reel, or you're
Mhm.
making a podcast,
Mhm.
right? So there's one thing, and the second thing, you need to consistently be better in
Mhm.
what you do.
Yes.
So ultimately, you'll get your account to somewhere. The
Mhm.
question is, how long is going to take you? And some of us might kind of never be there,
Mhm.
but if you are able to be better and better and better and better and better, eventually you're going to grow it. So
Yes.
the bottlenecks, for example, for some of us might be, let's say, charisma.
Mhm.
Right. So then people prefer to watch somebody more charismatic, especially if it's a video. So
Yeah, yeah.
how the person looks like. For podcast, voice is important.
Yeah.
So I have my voice coach. So she's helping me out, and I'm kind of, but it takes a lot of time. And then my voice is only slowly getting better. So you don't see the influence. But some other smaller things, let's say new mics,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can elevate just the next episode already
Yeah.
straight away, right? Or better research, better concept of the pod straight away is a big elevation, right? So, and then you're gonna grow. It's all the same mechanism.
Yeah, that is true. And that's what I thought about, like, in general, also today and yesterday, also, actually. I was like talking about these things, that consistency is the key in a lot of things, like, especially if you want to be successful at anything. It's like everyone can eat healthy for a day. Anyone can do one workout. Anyone can do like one thing once, and it isn't like a big thing. But do it 2 days, do it 3 days,
Yeah.
a week, a month, year, multiple years.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing that separates us, like the successful people from the others. I think it's yeah, the more you do something consistently, of course you will get better at it. Or unless you're just completely fucking dumb or something, but like I don't know.
Yeah, it's also with sports. It works so much. Reminds me of, we
Mm,
had one conversation with one of my old colleagues. So he was like, "So yeah, how long?" So he asked me how long it's
mhm,
gonna take him to
mhm.
get to certain shape,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "This is very good question, my friend,
Mm,
and I actually have no answer for you because we
mm,
start in a really different kind of positions and we have a
mm.
different pace and how much you can commit. So I cannot really answer that." And
Yeah.
then he was like, "Yeah, but how long it took you?"
Mm.
And I'm like, all the 28 years that I lived, it took
Yes.
me this many to get to my place.
Yeah.
And I'm not on my ultimate best.
Mhm,
So I could have been
mhm,
like way better, way different. Yeah.
mhm.
But then to my place, it took me 28 years. So it's
Yeah.
going to take you all your 28, 30, 25, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
all your years to get there.
Yeah. That is true. And it takes a lot of time to develop like anything that you maybe see that's actually hard and someone makes it look easy. There's a lot of fucking hours
Yeah.
behind that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's not just it happens overnight. Like there's a even saying that Lionel Messi got famous overnight. No, he didn't.
Mm.
In a way, he kind of did, but like, no, he didn't. He
Yeah. But
did a
amount of,
lot of
uh,
fucking work behind the scenes
and the
before he
talent.
could
Uh,
actually put himself into the place where he could shine.
yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't happen like this. And it's like even like if I think about myself, let's say, for me, it's really easy to basically, or that's the reason I can put a lot of work in and be like this and then this and then this and then this, basically do this for every day on every day. But it took me a lot of years. It like started already in my youth,
Mm.
like maybe when I was 9 or something like that. From that point on, or from 10 years old or something like that, I have basically, because I was playing hockey at the moment, I had practice on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Right.
Thursday, Friday. And then sometimes, like usually, a game on Saturday and sometimes even on Sunday. And it's been building from there to this moment. And it's been going all the time, and even like maybe trying to push it even harder and harder and
Yeah.
harder. But like someone, maybe if they would start now, they would never, or like it takes a lot of like years and years of time to able to do the same. But again, because the groundwork was already done, it can be like it's easy for me to now like be like, yeah, I can train this many times a week, or I can do this and this and this and that. But it took a lot of time and a lot of sacrifice and all these things, and it takes like, and yeah, that's the consistency part is that is the key. Like if I would stop at some point, I wouldn't be here, or I
Mm.
wouldn't be able to
Mm.
do all these things. It's how would I say? Yeah, the reason why some things are called hard is because they are actually hard and you can't get good at them right away.
Yeah.
Like for me, a good example, what I do is like jujitsu. I have done it for like 12 years or so. So it actually took me a lot of time to get pretty good at it, actually. And like it can be math, physics,
Mm.
something that's
Yeah.
complex,
Whatever it is. Yeah.
but you don't get good at it like this.
Yeah.
Even the most like smart people, they don't get good at it like this. It takes a lot of time to actually get there. And that's, I think, we're so used to also at the moment that everything is instant. Like you can get anything on your phone, you can just instantly order food, you can instantly order anything. You can look at the news, you can look at a video, you can look porn, you can look this, you can do this,
Yeah.
and everything is always instant gratification. And I feel like that's also the problem with, or the people struggle a lot with that they feel like they don't get there as fast as they want to, and they just quit.
I really like this topic, and I also see the big problem in
Mm-hmm.
this, and this is also what I'm trying to, let's say, influence to make it somehow better, because I
Mm-hmm.
really do resonate with you in terms of the consistency and the
Mm-hmm.
sports
Mm-hmm.
approach, and then
Mm-hmm.
also doing these sacrifices, and then let's say in both of our cases we do
Mm-hmm.
sports, so we do our
Yes.
sacrifice of time, mental effort, physical pain, actually, of and the
Yeah.
soreness, everything that, and to be into sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then some other people would do in biology, which is also, it requires sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
over time to actually get somewhere where they want to be. And then the way what helps me is to see it as also as a, like a two things. First of all, is a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So, or I like to call all this concept muscle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So over time, I think you also mentioned the same. You are getting better.
Yes.
So if you already done this week 3 gyms,
Mm-hmm.
to do one more, the fourth one is kind of easy. You're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a champ already. I did
Yeah.
3. I do one more because I want to be even better. And like, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So over time it gets easier and it
Mm-hmm.
gets better, and you catch the wave, and you kind of wave it through, and then you start to see the results, and it's better, and it's like, nothing can stop you.
Yeah.
The one thing, and another thing is that there is the concept. I heard it. This is not like little bitch voice. So
Mm-hmm.
I heard it from someone. I don't know. I think the US gangsters are like the motivational speakers from US. They all speak about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, the silent your inner bitch voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 Yeah.
So we are giggling about that, but this is so much true.
Mhm.
Really concrete example from my life. Yesterday, I was going. I had some meetings in Essential. Then I was going to the gym, and then go out from the tram, and I want to take my gym card out, and I have no wallet in my pocket. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh no wallet. Okay, it's probably home. I walk home. It's not far. I get home, and I check the place where I usually kind of keep my wallet and the
Mhm.
key, and it's not there. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no. So then this is a really small panic attack starts, and I'm like started
Yeah.
to be a bit worried about the wallet and thing. And then I call to the place where I've been, so they check the sofa if I drop it there.
Mm.
They meanwhile they're checking, they call me back, not there, and I'm like, and then okay, maybe it's in the car. I was in the car in the morning. I go to the car, not in the car. Then I go back home, check all the backpacks, everything where it could be, nowhere. And I'm like, oh yeah, the pants that I wore the day before, and I check
yeah.
it, and it's there, and I'm like.
Yes.
It's such a quick release, and I lived through like everything. I already thought that I'm gonna, I need to go to the gym to restore the car, then I need to block some other bunkers so then nobody
yeah.
can use them. And I had this frustration and a panic, and then the worry, and I was super annoyed because my kind of I had it was a long day, and it was already 8 o'clock, and I was even more delayed, and I still didn't get my gym in, and I was frustrated. I know it, like everything. And then I just sit down. I was also speaking with someone, like complete frustration. And then in this moment, I really felt that, I should kind of relax and kind of let it easy and stuff. And I shouldn't go to the gym, even though my gym backpack is kind of almost on me already, because I was going towards the gym. And I'm fit nowadays. I don't need this gym. I can skip as many as I want. I can eat whatever I want. So I don't need the gym actually to be healthy or fit. But what I need is to be able to feel myself greatly, emotionally and physically. And then emotionally, so I heard this inner bitch voice telling me, like, you can relax now. You've been annoyed, you've been frustrated, you can lie down, you can maybe watch something, and it's already almost tomorrow. You can have this extra day off from gym. So, and then I said like hell no.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna fucking listen to you. I'm not listening. And I just went to the gym, and I did the gym. It was not the best, not the worst gym. I kind of, I got it done, and, keep up, go back home. But this exercise of not listening to this voice. So that's what I've learned, and I've started to notice it. And now I'm kind of, you're not gonna make it to me, because it's just not who I'm listening. I'm listening myself, but I'm not listening to you. I'm getting it done.
Yeah, I get it, and I totally know this voice also. I think we all have it, and it's like it's looking for the easy way out. We all like comfort, let's say.
And I by the way, I have completely no judgment
Hmm.
towards people when they listen to it,
Hmm.
because I also listen to it sometimes.
Yeah.
You cannot like cancel it. And I think I just noticed I was a bit maybe emotional with this story because I think it's quite funny. But I have no judgment, and I'm listening to this voice sometimes, and I'm fine with people doing it. So it
Mm.
is what it is, part of us.
Yes, it is. It is, and it is like it will kind of drive you towards comfort, I would say, or that's usually where it goes. But the thing is, like you said, you should kind of conquer your inner bitch, like the
Yeah.
saying goes, because like for me at least, because I have seen and proven to myself kind of like what I am capable of
Mm,
like to do in a week. Of course, when you're pushing it really hard, you can't go maybe that hard every
mm,
week because then you will just basically burn out.
true.
But like just kind of let's say a regular week, you still know what you're kind of capable of and you have seen that multiple times and you have done it multiple times. So anything less will make me feel like I'm slacking,
Yeah.
I'm being like lazy, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I could have done, but I didn't. And then like, oh, all these things. And maybe sometimes you even listen to that and then you're kind of like, okay, I'm taking it a little bit easier. But the feeling inside is shit because I should have gone, I should have done that. And I always kind of like get this, really I'm kind of like beating myself over it, let's say.
Right.
So for me to kind of like almost let's say feel good about myself, I need to put the work in that
Right.
I know that I can put in, because otherwise, because of course I have kind of like I can say I have many kinds of big dreams about all these things, and I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do that, but the only reason or the only way for me to do that is actually put effort
Mm,
into those things. And if I don't put it, I'm always kind of like, or one thing that can kind of like motivate me is like I look into the future and I feel like, how would you feel if you didn't succeed all in those things that you did? Or of course that can happen, but you know you didn't put in the effort that
mm,
you could have put in. And that's like, ugh, that eats you inside.
yeah.
And I feel like those are the kinds of things that you kind of can't forgive yourself
Yeah.
about. Like, and
Yeah.
I want to feel or live in a way that I can look into the mirror and be like, I actually at least tried.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, I tried.
Yeah.
I didn't give up. And that's also the thing that the voice can kind of like let you do. It kind of like gives up,
Mm.
and the more you start to give up, the more you start to give up on other things. This thing that's like, "Ah, okay, I don't need to do that."
And then there's a
Like,
domino effect. Yeah.
yeah, quitting becomes a habit. You should always like, of course, there are limits. Sometimes you're just fucking sick or
Mm.
becoming sick, and you shouldn't then work out. But you still kind of like go at least try and like, was it just laziness or did I
It's
actually
it's
need a
about it's
break?
about learning. About learning. I think you
Yeah,
mentioned if you're sick, so then you shouldn't go. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
so.
Of
You
course,
just you
of
shouldn't
course.
go because and then you listen to your real self.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
then you need to kind of and differentiate those moments,
yeah.
and then understand the being and actually like strive towards the real you want.
Mm-hmm.
But then also what the real me wants, that's what I
Mm-hmm.
need to figure out.
Yeah,
This is not
yeah,
that easy. It's not like, okay.
yeah, yeah. But that's also kind of like a fine line. I think it's like you need to find where your lines lay,
Mm, mm,
and you never find them if you actually try to go over them,
mm,
basically.
mm.
So that's the struggle that I have, at least almost. Well, not every week, but like no, it's quite constant in a way that like, am I being lazy or should I actually take a break?
Mm, mm.
And a lot of the times it's kind of like can go towards more the lazy part, but like then again sometimes it is like, oh, I became sick basically the next day, so okay, I was actually like needing of the actual rest and all
Yeah.
these things. Of course, the more you have done it, the more you can kind of like learn to listen to yourself and your body's signals and all these things. And then again, of course, my aura ring is there, but like all those kind of things can also help. Like, okay, my resting heart rate is like up 10 beats, so okay, maybe that's a sign that I
Yeah.
should take it off. And it like I feel the same in my body. So okay, let's do that. And those things can actually really help with that. But it's a tricky line. It's a tricky line.
It is. I agree.
But there's one thing also just to mention about the also well, okay, let's just talk about this. I already you have talked about like, yeah, you like the sports and all these things, and but how do you manage your time, and how do you kind of make sure that you get everything you want to do done during a week, let's say?
Yeah, it is a good question. It really depends for like a different weeks differently.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say past weekend I've spent working,
Mm-hmm.
which is not a great thing to do. And then
Mm-hmm.
lately it was quite packed with all the things, because right now there's more business things. Then also there's the volunteering for Slash, so we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
help them out. Then I have other projects in the pipeline that I need to designate a bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
Then yeah, lots of things. But what else I've understood for myself and for everybody around me, so when people say, I'm so busy, I don't have time,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have time for this particular thing.
Yeah.
So it is the matter of prioritization, and to be doing what's
Mm-hmm.
important and what's
Mm-hmm.
the real you once in a certain moment of time. I suffer with this kind of myself,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm quite let's say ambitious and kind of driven and super optimistic person. I like this. I always try to do, or I always, let's say, schedule or mark more things to do than I actually
Mm-hmm.
capable of, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm just optimistic that
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, this is easy, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, yeah.
But then also I'm learning, and then I understand, so I schedule less, or
Mm-hmm.
schedule further, I schedule more gaps, and yeah, and then also I try to really understand my pace.
Mm-hmm.
So now I feel I am kind of charged to do what I do. So
Mm-hmm.
I will just keep pushing. So I don't want to go for vacation. I
Yeah, yeah.
don't really need certain rest. By the way, the weekend is coming. I'm gonna take this weekend off,
Mm-hmm.
because last weekend I was actually kind of working.
Yeah, yeah.
But then this weekend I will be completely zoned out,
Yeah, yeah.
doing kind of rest type of things.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I think the prioritization, deciding what's important, is the key here.
Yeah, that is true. I feel like there's even the all these kind of exercises that I feel like people do. Some people use some sort of like a maps or these things, but there's actually one thing that I think it's in precision nutrition that they kind of like use. I know it because we have their booklets and all these things at work. So again, like since we have this jar in here, so when you start to fill this jar, it's, let's say it's your life. The first thing you put in, or you should put in, is the big things, the main ones you need to get done that are essential for your life. And those are the kind of like the biggest rocks you
Mm.
fill it with. After that comes all the other stuff that's kind of nice that you want to do, and that's kind of like the smaller shit that will try to fill it up. And after that only comes the sand that's just like the filling of the other
Mm.
shit, like the time you have left after all those things. And that's kind of a good exercise in that sense, that a lot of people maybe don't really know their own values and all their like goals and all these things. And that also reminded me of a one thing that's kind of actually pretty astonishing, like Jordan Peterson, and actually they tested this, and I think they did studies even on this, that high school students, they went into those, and even some universities, to basically do this exercise of write a future for yourself. What do you want to do, and what do you want to
Mm.
achieve, and what do you don't want to do? And even spending 1 hour on that exercise reduced the dropout rate. Was it like 60%?
Mm.
So if you actually think about that, that can maybe mean, well, not necessarily, but can maybe mean kind of that a lot of people don't even spend an hour on like valuing or thinking through analyzing that what they want to do, and that's kind of fucking scary almost. So yeah, you should always know what you need to do and want to do, and then you can kind of like make decisions on that. I think I'm starting to lose my point, but yeah.
No, I really agree on that. We recently had a discussion on my podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been speaking about the concept of value,
Mm-hmm.
and also the, let's say, mission. And then there I was reflecting,
Mm-hmm.
even though usually my guests reflected, but then also I give the
Mm-hmm.
perspectives. So I was reflecting that I frequently done, let's say, some mission and then value exercises for the teams I was leading, and then
Mm-hmm.
mostly it was like, extrapolation of the company
Yeah, yeah.
mission and the company values towards the what does it mean to our team. So we are a
Mm-hmm.
group of people, we work together, but what the company mission means for us, what
Mm-hmm.
are our values. So there are company, but what are our values,
Mm-hmm.
how we operate as a unit within the organization. And then so doing this type of mapping in the workshops and exercises.
Mm-hmm.
But then I kind of never done those to myself.
Yeah.
And then once I've understood it, it was this another light bulb moment. And they're
Mm.
like, this what is missing. This
Mm.
is where this why it feels not kind of complete.
Yeah.
And then that's what I've done. Like you said, sit
Yeah, yeah.
down for 1 hour and think.
Yes.
So ask the same question that I would ask from from the team members or like for the
Mhm.
company from myself.
Yeah.
So what is my mission? Why do I exist?
Yeah.
What is the value I bring or I want to bring?
Mhm.
And really big questions that normally you don't listen for them, or
Mhm,
you
mhm.
don't think of them, and you
Mhm.
don't speak about them.
Mm.
And then so that's what I've done, and it helped a lot. So everything
Yeah.
becomes clear. You have a certain vision towards the future. So then since then I try to like think around once in a while of what it is, where are we going, what's important for me, how I want to be. So to have
Mm-mm.
some kind of orienteer like towards what I'm going. And
Yeah.
then with the can example, like how you fill in, I think
Mhm.
the most important that you choose yourself.
Yes.
Like you sit down and you choose and you define, okay, these are the big pieces, that's what I
Yeah.
really want to get done.
Mhm.
And then small sand on top of it as
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
add some spices. Yes.
Yes. That is true. That is true. And I totally agree. And that also, yeah, we are sometimes so worried. I think there's actually also statistics on this. Like amount of people when they get a prescription drug, let's say, for some sickness they have. I think it was something around of 78% of people actually finish this prescription. So eat all the
Mm,
medicine that they should,
mm,
and they kind of like, because what happens? They, oh, I forgot to take it. It
mm,
doesn't matter, and and that's also why we have an antibiotic resistance fucking diseases and stuff,
mm.
because they don't actually eat the whole prescription to the end. But can you guess what was the percentage of when you got a prescription for your pet? How many of them finished it? Like for the prescription for their pet?
It should be something super high, I think, because it's the pet, and then we kind of care of them
Mm.
more, almost more than for us, like
Yeah.
something like 95%.
Yeah, I think it was 99 point something
Wow.
7 or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And that's like you said, we tend a lot of times almost care about others
Yeah,
more than
true.
ourselves. And that's a big issue, because I think everyone would, like you said, benefit from the fact that you are doing everything that you should be doing, and you're living kind of like, let's say, your best life. That benefits you, and that benefits everyone else around you, because usually if you're living your best life, let's say, you're doing something that's also valuable for the other
Yeah.
people. So it's kind of funny that we always kind of like shit on ourselves a lot, and like, I don't care, I don't matter, and it's you. Well, you care. I'll care about you, and you're so special and important. But like, we just shit on ourselves, like, I ain't shit.
And it's another super good analogy. Like one of my key learnings in life,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, is was when I've understood that, like, again, self
Mm-hmm.
is in the it's like a main thing that it is.
Mm.
And to explain this, you people might call me, okay, you are selfish, you think a lot about yourself, and this is true. And then my kind of take is that we all need to be selfish,
Yeah.
otherwise we are not able to help others. So the thing is
Yes.
that, um, better I am,
Mm-hmm.
better I feel,
Mm-hmm.
and then better I, like, what else, better I feel, more money I have, more
Mm-hmm.
knowledge I have, more people I know, more of everything, better it is, more I can extrapolate, more
Yes.
I can help. And then I think there is I don't know, I don't have a stats on that, but there is a multiplier of, okay, if I have 100,
Mm-hmm.
then we speak about tens of thousands of in value
Yeah. Yeah.
that I can generate to people around me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is how I see it, and this is why the self is actually like super important, and it's
Mm-hmm.
good to be selfish.
Yeah.
But then there is this, the step two. Step one, you're selfish. Step two, you extrapolate to others.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if you don't do step two, you're like, you're asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a funny statistic about that also. Like, um, you're probably just in average, let's say, you're probably gonna meet around 1,000 people in your life at
Mm,
least. Like actually, like interact more
mm,
than just
mm.
like see them walk
Yeah,
by or
yeah,
something. So if you kind of like meet and communicate with 1,000 people in your life, and that same person also, let's say, meets 1,000 people in their life, and basically then, because you can affect, or there's a limit of how much you can affect others, but like let's say you can affect them and they can affect, in theory, at least 1,000 people.
yeah.
So you're basically one people away of affecting a million people.
Mm,
So it's a massive kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
spread, like how it goes, like, and that's also like it all like, let's say, it works both ways, meaning that in some workplaces or whatever, some situation, there's like how one asshole can kind of like kill the feelings of like 20
Yeah, it
people.
works. Yeah, with the you kill the feeling, and also
Yeah.
it also influences a lot about the performance.
Yeah.
So if you have a, let's say, high performing team,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
there is one that is toxic, and then
Yes.
not only toxic but like lower performer,
Mm-hmm.
so he might drag a toxic lower performer
Yeah,
will
yeah.
drag everybody down. But if
Yes.
it's a not toxic but just lower performer, they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna get him up. So
Yeah.
it's the correlations are insane. I was reading some
Yeah.
research on that.
Yeah. And that's kind of crazy at like you can really spread good things around you, or you can spread bad things around you. And to also maybe tie it together with actually thinking about what you want. Like I think it's good, like you use the words orientation and almost, I'm not sure if you said obstacles also, like you can see like what are the things that are in the way and maybe like that. Because just to give a nice example, I have used this with my clients, and also I've learned this from psychology. So let's say you are thirsty. Okay, how do you start to see the world? In this case, for example, I would start to see the world in a way. I know, here is my glass, and I'm looking the glass. Okay, now I got the glass because I know I can fill it with water. Then I see that there is the sink, and if there is anything in between the sink, it's almost like an obstacle for the thing that I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going for the sink, and I fill my glass up with water, then glug, 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 and I feel happy about myself. I completed the mission kind of like that I went for. But we see the world in a similar kind of way regarding our goals. So if you have clear goals that what you're trying to achieve, you start to see the world in a way that like this is an obstacle for what I want to do, and this is a thing that moves me where I want to go.
Yeah.
And also because our positive emotion, like let's say use the drinking water example again, you had a motivation to do it, And once you succeeded in completing this task, you get a little hit of dopamine. So that's the feel good hormone that we have in our body. So tying it to the bigger picture, every time you see yourself going again towards your goal, you get positive emotion. And if you go away from your goal, you get negative emotion. But if you don't have any goals or anything you're trying to do, you don't feel basically anything. It's just stale all along.
Mm-hmm.
So if we think about that also in like how people in general maybe don't even spend an hour on thinking what they want to do and how they affect people around them, and they're all just kind of like fucking sad and feeling sorry for themselves or whatever, how quickly that can affect a lot of people, like let's say in just one city or even in the world.
True.
And of course the opposite is true, and I think we should all kind of maybe aim for that, because I
Yeah.
think it could be really exciting to see like what everything could be when we actually are going, everyone is going into the, let's say, right direction what
Yeah.
they want to do. And I don't know, yeah, what that made me think about, like, what are your ideas? Like, I think you are, in your own way almost like trying to do that at the moment, like being a good and affecting people in a good way and sharing the knowledge and all these things. But what would you say, Mr. Fortune Teller and future reader, like how we can turn this ship to be way more positive for everyone?
I think it starts with self. Again, I think
Mm,
before I was reflecting on it starts with self, and it starts with self again here. Like, each one of
mm,
us, whoever is listening, and
mm-hmm,
it's not only if you're listening, but it's also about me and it's about you.
mm-hmm,
So we adopt, the certain mindsets, and we start to take actions. At first about ourselves, and the second about others,
mm,
and then we can swim to the correct direction. So I know
mm,
it's also I don't know, our ship is swimming in the correct direction or not in the correct. So this is also not obvious for me.
mm-hmm.
I don't really know. I like some things, and also I don't like some other things. And
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes I hear this crazy statistics, like recent example, the suicide rates,
Mm-hmm.
like they're insane, and I'm like,
Yeah,
we are surely doing something incorrect if there is this much of suicide rates.
yeah,
It
yeah.
just cannot be. We cannot live such a good life when the portion of us is just committing suicide. We are doing something wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then also on the flip side, there are some good statistics and some good feelings, and you see positive
Mm-hmm.
people, and then you're like, okay, then we are doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
But what I feel is that I want to do more, and then to self and to others. And then in particular, let's say maybe I'm not there yet to influences, one to many,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm surely already to influence one to one.
Yeah.
So I am trying to help people. Like, we had some conversation with person I know on Saturday. We had this talkut. So
Okay.
everybody who's not finished, it's kind of, you go to some warehouse and you do some work.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
It was really random, and it's for free, and it's called talkut.
yeah.
So there was one girl. She's like 18 years old,
Mhm.
and then we had we started to chat, and then it went kind of maybe a bit deeper than more than like, hey, how are you, how was your last weekend?
Mhm.
And then I really tried to be there for her, and I've listened for her, and I think for her career is super important. So this
Mhm.
was also the angle of our discussion, and then I sense
Mhm.
that this is important for her. So I really tried to listen, and I really tried to give her my perspective. But
Mhm.
then also I've tried not to tell her, let's say, what to do, how to be easy. But
Mhm.
I tried to enlighten some difficult points. So I've mentioned something about the types of people who are, getting to certain things.
Mhm.
And I seen that she heard it like first time ever in her life, so I'm sure that it made her think, and then this
Yeah.
thinking pattern, that's what I hope will get her to find the answer to herself and decide is this is what she wants, or she wants something different, or whatever it is. But to sum it up, so I tried be there for her on
Mm.
Saturday, and then I listened to her and I've been there for her, and I tried to influence in a positive way
Mm-hmm.
without telling her what to do, but more inspiring. So that's what I already do now,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want to do it more. And then in the future, I want to scale it one to many, like Jordan Peterson.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
somehow he does the millions. I don't have a charisma and then the channels yet for the millions.
Yes.
But I'm just starting.
Yeah. That's nice. And I think that's also a good and the right way to start with yourself. It's like I think even Jordan Peterson says like kind of like this, and I agree with it. Like because I see a lot of young people, especially screaming like on top of their lungs, like how the world should be,
Mm.
and like what do you know, and do you have yourself in order? Like, are you like getting everything you
Mm.
need to do done and all these things? Like, is your everything good with your family? Is like your relationship in good order? If everything that you do is like shit, or like everything is going to shit, you have bad relationship with everyone, you fucking hate your family, you hate everyone in your life, and you just basically are wishing the society to fall just because you feel like so bad and it's shit. Like, yeah, I don't think that person is the one to tell how everyone else should live. And
But
in a way, I don't even want to do like
yeah.
myself, like to tell everyone like how they should live. But like, yeah, like start
I
fixing
get your
yourself
point.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also something we've discussed a lot with Mr. Joppe. He was on my podcast, and so what he noticed, and I can agree with him, is that people are not asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think it is actually, it's not easy to ask for help. It's
Yeah.
because you think like, oh, are I gonna intervene his or her space, or will I be too annoying, or who should I ask? There's all these many questions before you actually like pick up your phone and ask for help.
Yeah.
And I think it is the most difficult for people who are deeper in troubles than people around them. So like deeper you are in the rabbit hole of problems, harder it is to ask and find the help. I think find the help also because to get help, you need to ask help from the correct place, let's say, or with the correct questions. So let's say, if the unemployed person asks me to get the job, I cannot help him. I don't have a job. I'm not hiring. Sorry. I mean, I wish to hire everybody, but I'm not hiring.
Yeah.
But if the unemployed person asks me for half an hour of my time to check his CV, to spar with him about the interview and maybe help him with the stuff. And I have experience in that. I was hiring people. Like, half an hour of my time doesn't cost this much. We're gonna sit down like next day, and we're gonna get it done. And then if this unemployed person get this exercise 100 times, I'm sure, but number 20 he will be already employed. So that's what I feel how it works.
Yeah, that is true. Also, like if you are in a really deep hole, it's hard to see a way out. I think it's kind of like when you go to like zero, let's say, in a way, like in the game of Monopoly, because game of Monopoly is kind of like life again. Like it's smart that it's hidden in there, that you kind of like try to learn what capitalism is basically about and where it goes.
I like
if you
that you find the parallels also. Like, and I need to highlight the previous analogy with the gaming. I mean, it is really like that.
Yeah,
I like the parallels.
It's nice, but like game of Monopoly, it's a trade. It's basically how you learn how to trade, and you can see where when you play the trading game to its end, it can lead to that only one person is left with all the money, and that's just basically the law of interaction, like a trading. If you do it like infinite times, but also in there, if you go to zero, you're out of the game. It's hard to play if you are in zero, and there are people who are in such like bad situations that they are basically at zero with their finances and with other stuff in their life. So of course it would be nice to see a way or give some sort of way to help them, and I think that actually is way better than actually giving them kind of maybe money right away, because like there are people who are like addicts and stuff. And if you give them money, one thing that they go do right away is get more whatever is their addiction.
What I've learned, so the money game, right? So once you earn money, so money solves money problem
Yeah.
for rich or for poor, doesn't
Yes.
matter. So if you are becoming rich, so well done, you solved your money problem. You
Hmm.
still have plenty of other problems that you need to solve, unfortunately
Yes.
for you. And then
Yes.
luckily for you, money can help you to solve
Hmm.
other problems, but you still need to solve them. For poor people, like you said, if money
Hmm.
is zero and we
Yeah.
give this person money,
Mm.
we solved money problem of this person, and
Hmm.
actually on the amount that we gave, so it is temporary,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So then what happens after, and also we didn't solve any other problems. So
Yeah.
if this person is kind of unemployed,
Hmm.
he still will be unemployed but with a bit more money. If he's homeless or she is homeless,
Yeah.
same but with more money. Like, single, same, it doesn't influence, but the
Yeah.
money, at least one problem is solved.
Yeah. Yeah. It helps a little bit with the money thing, but yeah, it's like, yeah, I think those kind of, it could be even like some, I don't know, governmental program that they could do, like, since we are paying taxes.
I think
So
there's like plenty
yeah,
of all those
something like
things.
that, and like that would be way more beneficial than just like get them basically addicted or like almost on the hook on that. Also, like, I'm relying on that I get free money from the government,
Mm.
and that's how I live my life. I don't need to
There is a
change anything.
whole, like in Finland at least, there is a whole category of the people who are like on
Yes.
Kela all the time, or they just figure out how to live on Kela. They don't need
Yeah.
more, they don't need less, and they're fine, and they just get the support and they live like that.
Yeah. And I don't think that's the best way. Or feel free to do it if you want to, because since it's like
I feel it's
possible,
like
but like,
abusing the system.
yeah,
That's
it
what I
is.
feel. I
It
feel that
is.
they're taking the place from somebody who needs it.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. And again, like, of course, maybe there are some people who need assistance and all these things, but like, again, it is possible because of the system allows it. But I
Hmm.
don't think that's the best way to look your life. Okay, yeah, you might survive, and I don't know about your quality of life if you do that, because
Mm.
Kela doesn't pay that much.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you never change your situation to anything if you don't, like, again, there's a nice saying that I heard, I'm not sure when, but it was pretty recently. If there is no new input, there can't be new output.
Mm.
And you need new inputs in your life, new skills, new something, whatever,
True.
to get different outputs. But if you stay in that, like, let's say the situation is you get money from Kela and then you just stay there and that's how you live, you're never gonna get anywhere else.
Mm.
And it's sad, maybe, I would say. But all right, one more thing at least. We're already 2 hours and 10 minutes in. So what, since this is basically what you do in your podcast in a way, what is something, you can just give general maybe advice in a way to some people, but what would be something that you would tell your younger self to help you in your progress to get wherever you want to go?
Oh, this is a hard one. I think for myself, first of all, I would tell learn Finnish. Yeah, but when I moved to Finland, I didn't know what I want to do with my life, where I want to be, if I will be in Finland or not. But then it's kind of ended up that I'm kind of staying around here.
Mhm.
It is a great place to be, and I kind of like it here.
Mm.
So now, if I would have been learning Finnish for all those years that I'm here,
Mm.
then I will surely be already way better in it.
Mhm.
I can speak Finnish, but not, I cannot record podcast in Finnish.
Yeah.
And then if I would be learning, I would be already recording podcast fluently in Finnish, and this would be also helpful in all other areas of my life.
Yeah.
But then this is really something really concrete that only I know now, and
Mhm.
also there is so many other variations of my life that could have
Mhm.
happened. I could have started learning Finnish, and then I would actually move. Like I was I was living in Germany at some point, so maybe I would have stayed in Germany.
Yeah.
And then who needs the Finnish language
Yeah.
in Germany?
No one.
So, but then in general, it's really hard maybe to advise. I think I would advise to myself, listen more to
Mm.
self.
Yeah.
And I would also advise to trust somebody with credibility
Mm.
from the same type of mindset, and then maybe do what they say. So, and what I mean is that, let's say today we spoke about this exercise of,
Mm.
self value, and identifying what is important for self.
Yeah.
So what I imagine for like me back then, when I was 18 and I would listen to
Mm.
this podcast, so me now would
Mm.
surely have a credibility
Mhm.
against me like 10 years ago.
Mhm.
So what I wish would happen is that back then I would listen to this pod, I would hear that, spend 1 hour creating
Yeah.
value map, understanding the
Yeah.
mission, and I would be like, yes, yes, boss, I'll sit down and do. And then I might have opinion about that, because at 18 I even had more opinions than now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would just, this momentarily trust of somebody with the credibility of do certain exercise that would help.
Yeah.
And I think that would get me way further than I am now.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Just to a little bit clarify that, have you basically then maybe didn't trust as much like other people, and then you had to maybe learn it the hard way or something like that?
mm, nothing, maybe nothing particular comes to my mind, but then this is what I see obstacle for, like, myself and for
Hmm.
many other people.
Yeah.
The way I see it is that we are frequently, we don't trust, or we have
Yeah. Yeah.
opinions on, we disagree, or we know what is better,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then frequently is that somebody already figured it out.
Yeah. That is true.
So, and then the best approach, if you want to advance in something, find the person who already advanced in this and ask,
Hmm.
what the heck they done.
Yeah.
And then just first try the same, and then you fine tune it,
Hmm.
right? And then you figure out like the concrete steps. But instead, what the reality is, what we do, we are like, yeah, I know the drill, I know how it works. And especially like me, I'm quite a confident person, and I have my opinion on everything.
Yeah.
And I think this surely frequently leads me to the places I feel that I know better.
Hmm.
But the reality is that, yeah, people already been there and kind of figured this out, that it's not better.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so what did you basically say, to be coachable in some sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like,
more coaches and kind of, yeah.
yeah.
I think the coaches and mentors there, they play big role. I think also only recently I've understood the importance of
Hmm.
of this thing. And yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, that also made me think about that. What you just said as an advice to yourself, it seems like that's what you're doing also with your podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe you're kind of like delivering this thing to yourself, and like learning and doing actually what you then didn't do, and try to help others do the same.
That's exactly true. So that's
Mm.
I'm trying to kind of get further with maybe same type of approaches, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to, like, project it to other people. So back then when I was in corporate, so I had
Mm-hmm.
people in my teams. So we used to spend sometimes hours of time figuring out what do they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then the questions I would be asking, like, yeah, so what do you want in life? And then
Yeah.
we sit down in a work setting, there's like one-on-one, and I'm the manager, and then the person is just like
Mm.
the worker there. And then
Yeah.
we do some logistics Excel type of things. And then we sit on one-on-one and ask, like, yeah, so what do you want in life? And
Mm.
then they're like, maybe like salary. And I'm like, no, you didn't get my question, so what do you want in life? Because it's all connected.
Yeah.
And then if I can influence positively through the work setup, like there to this particular it's gonna still influence positively on everything that we do for work. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. That is true. That is true. So, to finalize, tell everyone where they can find your podcast, where they can find your company stuff and all these things, and if they want to get in touch with you and do some business with you, and etc. etc.
yes, business, please. Super happy. Constantly on the lookout for projects,
Mm.
and then for partners. Also, my business partners are actually investing
Hmm.
So you can get to investors through me, and or I'm super interested in business models and how it works, so we can just grab it here. So would be super happy if anyone reach out. Instagram, Roman Helsinki, super
Mm.
easy to find. Podcast, Get Cracking podcast on all the platforms as well, Instagram as well. All the links there, and LinkedIn also works. Roman Helsinki, same everywhere. Uh, I'm not sure. Will people listen to 2 hours and 15 minutes to hear where is my Instagram?
Yeah, well, I have heard people do that, so I have faith in it, and of course I can put them in the episode listing or
So if
whatever.
you're listening to this now, please go and saying hi to me and let's grab a coffee or something. And happy to help you as well. So if you also need help, and then you feel that I would be the person to help you out, this also can be me. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So this was really nice. It's like being good conversation, I think, and yeah, thank you for coming here. And maybe I can, if I have something to value, I don't know, to visit your podcast sometime or whatever. But like, that was
That would be
good.
great. Thank you so much for inviting. I truly enjoyed it. This is great.
Yeah, popped your guest cherry.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So out, 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 out.